Weekend Game Plan presents the Habs Breakfast. Intel from the rink, the locker room, and away from the ice.
We're also joined on the line by hockeyinsideout.com columnist. You can also follow him at Habs Blogger on Twitter. It is Mr. Mike Boone. How you doing, Mike?
I'm okay, Matthew. Slowly stirring to life here. Fairly early for me.
Oh, well, it kind of sounded like how the Canadiens players are feeling this morning. Played very well the first couple of periods, and then just as you write in your column about last night on hockeyinsideout.com that Michel Therrien after the game said it just didn't get any puck luck.
Yeah, I think that may be a charitable interpretation of the way his team played. For all their shots on goal, I don't think Cam Ward had to particularly stand on his head last night, even during the periods in which the Canadiens dominated. I think there were. I was seeing unfortunate flashbacks to last year when they were kind of a perimeter team that had all kinds of shots. It's amazing how much they missed Radulov.
Well, 0-2 without Radulov. They've lost 3 in a row, but that Chicago game very competitive. The second of a back-to-back on the road. Is it the case of basically missing Radulov? Is it just lack of depth and he's that important, or?
Yeah, both. I mean, for sure they miss him. I mean, he's basically he and Galchenyuk are the best forwards on the team right now, like by a lot, until Gallagher comes out of his coma, and Pacioretty's been a bit inconsistent to start the season, and they don't have a lot of depth. No, they don't. It concerns me that the AHL team is so lousy. I mean, there's nobody on the AHL team that has any playoff experience. They've just been kind of limping along down there for years, and it's an indication of organizational depth, I guess.
And I think, just touching on Radulov before, and you mentioned it briefly there, I think, more so than just the whole team missing him, I think Alex Galchenyuk misses having a line mate like him.
Oh, definitely. I think Galchenyuk really came alive this season early when Therrien shuffled the lines and then linked him up with Radulov. He kind of, I guess, Galchenyuk needs a winger whose hockey brain functions on the same high level as his, and I think that's definitely the case with Radulov. It would be beautiful. I love Paul Byron, and if there's a greater value for dollar player in the league, I can't name him offhand, but I think they need a winger with more offensive punch on that line, or maybe a winger more in tune with what they're doing.
He is Mike Boone joining us here on Habs Breakfast. Amanda Stein in studio as well on Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross. Canadiens lose 3-2 last night in Carolina. One guy who made himself made his presence felt last night was Andrew Shaw, Mike, getting almost 20 minutes of ice time, picking up a whole bunch of penalty minutes in the last few seconds of the game, getting on the score sheet as well. Was he the guy that you thought you were going to see when the Canadiens went and picked him up? And if he plays this way the rest of the year, I would think he's full value.
To be very honest with you, I hadn't seen enough Hawks games to get a real good fix beyond a statistical one on what Shaw would bring. I think I joined other skeptics in wondering about the length and the richness of the contract they gave him. But in the last, I guess for the last week or so, it's kind of coincided with the losing streak that Andrew Shaw is starting to play like the Andrew Shaw that we heard about in Chicago. And that's a very encouraging sign, because the other aspect of the scouting report on him is that he really comes alive at playoff time. That's a long way off, but he's definitely elevated his game at this stage of the season. That line is pretty good. I like it. They're fun to watch, energetic.
One guy who made his season debut last night was Charles Hudon, who's leading everyone in the AHL in scoring. He picked up a nice assist last night, Amanda. Where would you like to see him in the lineup?
In the lineup, I guess, that's the most you can hope for Charles Hudon over the last couple of years. Anytime there's been a forward call-up, it very rarely has been him. And every time, everyone's talking about, well, why isn't it him? He's, do they want to give him more experience down there? I don't know how much more experience he's going to really need to be able to find himself in this lineup on a regular basis. But because you have a guy like Desharnais who's still on this lineup, who has a similar shape, a similar build, and has so much money riding on him, I think that sort of plays into a negative for Charles Hudon, because he might be the heir apparent to that small forward role.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
We have to give him one distinction, though.
Yes.
Worst mustache on the team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, at least he's not dyeing it like Andrew Shaw, right?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yes, it is. It is not good. It's not a good look. It's not a good look at all.
It's not. It's somewhere between Movember and porn star.
Yes.
I can't quite.
I feel like leaning more towards the porn star way than Movember.
Yeah, I think so, Amanda.
I did want to ask you about the goalie situation, and I guess what I worry about is that they started so well with Al Montoya and Carey Price when he came back after the flu, and now it seems that they're starting to regress a bit when Al Montoya is playing in particular. They don't maybe have that same type of confidence, and I'm wondering what that might start to do to Price, whether you go back to the Columbus game or even this game, mentally being like, oh no, here we go again. They really do need me every night.
Yeah, well, I don't know him, and I don't know that any member of the press does know him well enough to read that much into his thinking. But the team has a firm and I think a wise policy, given his medical history, that he's not going to play both ends of back-to-backs. And that's where it's at, So, Montoya wasn't awful last night. The first goal was a fluke, and then, he wasn't great on the other two. I don't think we can judge him by that Columbus fiasco. And, it's unfortunate that there's no back-to-back policy obliged poor Montoya to be utterly humiliated in Columbus. Yeah. But I think, again, taking an overview and factoring in Carey Price's medical history, I think no back-to-backs is a wise policy, and they're just going to have to live with it. And if perhaps, I don't know, if Montoya turns into a sieve, maybe they call up Charlie Lindgren. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Who's been playing well? He's been playing well.
Yeah, he's been playing really well.
Well, goalies have to be standing on their heads, right, down in St. John's. You mentioned it, that team. We're supposed to have, next week here on this program, we're supposed to have, tomorrow at 7:30, we're supposed to have Robin Short of the Star-Telegram in St. John's, but also the play-by-play color guy for the Ice Caps broadcast. And I kind of joked on Twitter. I said, well, what are we going to talk about? All the players are in Montreal. So there's really not a lot to talk about with the Ice Caps, and it's quite troubling. But it also
but there's some prospects there that ought to be monitored. I guess I gather just from press accounts that Sherback's having a pretty good season.
Yeah, and McCarron, I guess, is another guy.
McCarron, yeah. Although you don't read a lot about McCarron since he went down. He might have had that kind of that being sent down disappointment maybe affected his play and. But other than that, there's a lot of utterly anonymous players down there.
We're chatting with Mike Boone from HockeyInsideOut.com. You can read his column about last night's game called About Last Night. History repeating itself? Geez, let's hope not. That's a quote from Mike in the column last night. Are there signs that you see a prolonged slump coming with this, Mike, or is there enough, especially with Radulov coming back, that they can kind of right the ship with Price and Nets?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The key is Carey Price. I can't imagine. I can't imagine the wheels coming off with a goaltender that's that good. If you look at last December's record, you didn't have a goaltender that was that good, and team confidence fell apart. I think they kind of the confidence level rises when Carey Price is in nets and. That's going to help them. Although tonight, I have a lot of trepidation about tonight. I think lately in the games we've seen this week, the Canadians allegedly are a fast team. And on a few of the nights, they've looked like the slower team. And in Toronto right now, I mean, they're running a track meet up there. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I'm having visions of Mitch Marner cutting to the outside on Alexei Yemelin. Could be a long night.
Amanda Stein here in studio, just talking Habs here with Mike Boone of HockeyInsideOut.com on the line. Looking at the defensive side of things here, we've heard about how they may be looking for an upgrade in that top four. Amanda, is it a necessity? Can they go the rest of the year with what they have and try and contend, or do you see Marc Bergevin, who likes to hoard defensemen and bring on a ton, do you see him making a move?
I think so. I think eventually he might make a move, but I don't think it's an urgent thing. And we're not even at the 20 game mark. We're not quite at the quarter-way mark yet. We're almost there. I think if he brings in a defenseman right now, I think he should be happy with what he has. Sure, you can always upgrade, but right now they're getting by. They're doing okay, especially if you look at the way Andrei Markov is playing. I think we often, start a year saying like, okay, is this the year he's going to regress? Is this the year he's, sure, he's had a step off the last couple of years, but he's still up there and he's still manning a power play and he's still, able to control
3 or 4.
Yeah, he's still able to control the game out there. And I think they want more from someone like, Nathan Beaulieu, but they have the opportunity to give them a bit more of that time. Will he bring in another defenseman? It's very possible, but I don't think there's any rush to do that.
We have a text coming in. 11690 is the text box if you want to weigh in here on Weekend Game Plan with Matthew Ross. Signed anonymous. If Pacioretty is not 100%, isn't it the team's job to sit him down for the benefit of the team and Pacioretty? We'll start with Mike on this one. Do you see anything worrisome from Pacioretty?
Well, other than the fact that it took him a while to get rolling this season, no. I thought he's played fairly well in the last few games. He's hustling. He's getting his chances. He's a good enough natural goal scorer that the pucks are going to start to go in for him. I don't, unlike Amanda and genuine reporters, I don't go to the practices or anything like that. So I'm totally in the dark as to whatever mysterious injury.
Well, yeah, Amanda, let's ask you. Do you see anything?
I've been asked this question multiple times, and I don't see anything.
Tell us the truth, Amanda.
I don't see anything that tells me that Max Pacioretty has an injury, and if he does, they're not going to tell you anyways, because it's obviously not significant enough to need him to sit. And sure, you could sit him, but they need him more than they need to teach him a lesson if he's not, for lack of a better description, if he's not playing well or if he's, slightly injured. They need him in the lineup. As Mike mentioned before, they don't have a huge amount of depth. He's one of their guys that they need to lean on for goal scoring, and also, he's a streaky guy. What we've known about Max Pacioretty over the course of his career is he goes through these weird slumps where he doesn't score for maybe 10 games, and then he puts, he keeps putting them in the net. Every shot he takes goes in the net. Maybe he's just starting the year on a bit of a down note. I don't worry about him. I know that he is getting his chances. He is, fighting through whatever it may be. And I have no problems with the way Max Pacioretty is playing. Just hopeful that he'll be able to contribute a little more offensively.
I also suspect that his confidence is of such fragility that putting him in the press box. How do you put the captain in the press box? I mean, it's preposterous. Who does that? John Tortorella? Not Michel Therrien.
And not only that, Mike, right? Like, it's, that's one thing, but then in this market, what types of storylines that would create would just be so detrimental to this team, no matter how much you might want to sit him in the press box or not. It would it would be a disaster.
Yes, it would be a disaster. I can't see it happening.
Me neither.
Absolutely not.